on set. Places, everybody. And action.
It's time once again for the Hooked on Movies podcast. Today, we're going to be looking at the 20th anniversary of the 2004 release of the movie Saw. With me is Ken.
Most people are so ungrateful to be alive, but not you. Not anymore.
And Ted.
My name is very fucking confused. What's your name?
And I'm Eric. Hey, Ken.
What?
I don't give a crap if you're covered yourself in peanut butter and had 15 hooker gangbang.
How did you know that was happening right now?
It's your typical weekend.
Well, that's true.
That's right. And we're talking Saw.
Especially the peanut butter.
We haven't done a horror movie like this in quite some time.
This is probably our first modern horror movie that we've done.
Yeah, I mean, with real blood, guts, and gore, right? I mean, Texas Chainsaw.
This is the sequel to Seven.
Seven, yeah. Yeah, the sequel to Seven, Saw, right?
This was the birth of what some people derogatorily call torture porn. I don't consider this movie to be that, but there are some in this series that that I don't.
Because you have your own collection of that, right?
Yes.
VHS and beta. Yeah, this one's a little light on the gore and violence as compared to some of the sequels. But let's talk about our weekend. Ken, what'd you do? What was your week like?
So I finished the second season of Discovery of Witches, and I'm kind of somewhere in the third season right now. Been watching Agatha all along on the Disney Plus channel. I rewatched the movie The Gentleman this week because that movie rocks.
That is a great movie.
And then I bought some movies. I bought Inner Space. I bought the first three scary movies, the movie The Monster Club, and, of course, personal favorite of Ted's, Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, God.
So you pretty much just wasted your money. Might as well just lit on fire.
I got some gift cards from work, which kind of went a long way on that. And, of course, they had the Prime Day sales. So, I'm always looking for special sales. And then I got a Rocky Balboa figurine. Yo, Adrian. So that's pretty much my week in a nutshell outside of work and the peanut butter and hookers and shit. So,
of course.
Interesting.
Ted?
Very interesting. Well, I didn't watch a whole lot of movies. I did watch the new movie Speak No Evil. Have you seen the previews for that? It's with James McAvoy.
I have, but I haven't seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was okay. It wasn't everything that I thought it was going to be. But I did watch for the first time Convoy with Chris Christopherson.
With Chris Christopherson, right.
Exactly.
Oh.
So,
hey there, Rubber Ducky.
Yep.
Convoy, wow.
Yeah.
And what were your thoughts?
It's funny.
It's of the era, right?
Yeah, it's a very of the era.
Convoy.
I kind of dig it. I like the fact that Paulie's in it from Rocky, and of course Ernest Borgnine. But what really drew me to actually want to watch it was directed by Sam Peckinpah. The fact that there's not any gratuitous violence is pretty amazing.
It's Convoy.
Well, Sam Peckinpah is known for gratuitous violence. The director of The Wild Bunch. A lot of people were turned off by the end of The Wild Bunch. So, yeah, not a whole lot.
Ted, why don't you plug your podcast since we're talking about Convoy and Chris Christopherson? Yeah. Why don't you plug in your podcast there?
Fan favorite of the Hooked on Movies crowd, Justin and I have our podcast called The Generation Playlist. We did a special podcast on Chris Christopherson, who passed away recently. I know Eric really liked it.
I did. I liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, if you guys could check out...
if you are a fan of Chris Christopherson, you will love this podcast.
He's a real life tough guy. He is
a real. He's the what do you call him? He's the ultimate, most interesting man alive.
In the world. He's the Dos Equis man.
And after listening to your podcast, I can't argue with that.
The man landed a helicopter on the front lawn of Johnny Cash's house. Who does that? You cannot make that story up.
No.
He lived an amazing life. By anybody who you talk to, except for Toby Keith, one of the nicest people ever.
Okay, on that note, Eric, how about your week? How's things going with you?
Wow, mine wasn't nearly as exciting as you guys. I just finished season 2 of The Sopranos, so I'll be starting season 3 here.
Yep.
So it's kind of been dragging it out. Work's been a little busy, started a new position, so I'm doing a lot of training. Not a lot this week.
Remind me, what was
really
the
watch
last
anything.
episode of season 2 of The Sopranos? What happens at the end?
They all die.
No, it's not. So at the end, it's the killing of I can't think of his name.
Is it
The
Big
one
Pussy?
is no. Pussy's still wearing the wire and wants to be an FBI agent.
Gotcha.
No, it's the killing of the guy who was going to marry Soprano's sister.
Yes.
And she shot him.
Yes.
Covered it up. Yeah.
His acting throughout the whole season is amazing. And if you listen to the podcast with Michael Imperioli and Steve Sharippa, he is one of the nicest human beings ever. It's
Complete opposite of the show. Yes.
Exactly.
Complete opposite.
When I first heard it, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, no, that can't be. But he's so nice, and he's another guy he's been involved in a lot of things that you wouldn't even know. But
tells you how good of an actor he is.
Oh God,
the man's got no conscience on that show at all.
Oh
hey,
my
by the way, Eric,
God, no, he doesn't.
Eric, didn't you go to a concert this week?
Oh my goodness! Yes! Wow! Oh wow! That's over my head. Yes, everybody. Thank you for reminding me, Ken. I went and saw the legendary pop rock soft band, whatever you want to call them, Air Supply. That's right. I saw Air Supply, and it was a great show. I am a big Air Supply fan. I kind of like that genre of music. They rocked it up, man. They had some real heavy electric guitar. It wasn't the typical Air Supply that you would think of, but it was a really great show. Thank you, Ken.
It wasn't your mom and dad's Air Supply.
It wasn't your mom and dad's Air Supply. It wasn't your late 70s, early 80s Air Supply. These guys still could sing. Their vocals, they could hit the high notes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really, I mean, that really is a testament.
Yeah.
Because when I was learning vocals in college, a man's vocals usually start to go about age 70.
Makes sense.
But you have people like Steve Perry from Journey who can still. Those people are weird.
If he's not having a panic attack, sure, he can sing great.
The fact that they can still hit those notes at their elevated age, it's abnormal, and that's why they're great.
Abnormal.
Yeah, I don't want to say freaks because that's not.
No.
I mean, that has a negative connotation to it, but. They are. The fact that they can do what they're doing at such an elevated age. And I know, Ken, that you say that McCartney's having a harder time hitting some of the notes.
Steven Tyler is.
Yes. Well, that's a whole other
McCartney
issue.
was
That's
also
very
a
sad.
smoker, and I think that, being a smoker.
So everyone was of that era.
But the fact that he can it still sounds like McCartney. One of those things that's just amazing. And needless to say, look at Mick.
I don't like to look at him. He's scary looking.
Well,
but he's in the best shape of his life. I mean, seriously.
He's a human skeleton.
He still sounds like Mick.
And he's running around on stage. And then there's poor Frankie Valli, who is a statue up there.
Exactly.
Well, he's like 92, 93 years old.
He's up there.
The mob is propping him up for every dollar he can.
Back on the stage, Frankie.
Exactly. You owe us you owe us your soul. If you've seen Jersey Boys, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm glad Air Supply, those guys can still hit the notes and sound like themselves.
Sold out show. Cool. All right. Well, that's the highlight of our weeks. Let's talk about where you find people can see us, or I should say listen to us out there. We are on Hooked On _movies.
You betcha.
All right, I got it right. Yay, Hooked On _movies on Twitter /X. whatever you want to call or subscribe to. And then Ken, some wonderful stuff on Facebook that you're putting up there. I love the Dogma stuff. That's awesome.
That is the best news of the week. I actually, hip hip parade when I saw that come through on the Facebook page. The fact that scumbag weasel doesn't have rights to Dogma anymore is amazing. And if he does a tour like he says he's going to do,
I'll go see it.
You bet your ass.
Can finally get a copy on Blu-ray, hopefully, and not pay $1 million for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And we're also on the Dorkening Network, one of our brothers in sound, if you will. So give them a listen as well. Any shout-outs to any of our listeners? I've got one. I had some friends in, unfortunately, for a funeral. Their mother passed, and we were talking about movies, and we're talking about the podcast. And as you know, there's two of them that are avid listeners of our show. So I just want to give them a shout out if they're listening. I'm not sure if they're going to be listening to Saw. I don't think it's their cup of tea, but who knows? So
what are their names?
Oh, it is Jim and Becky.
Hi, Jim.
Hello,
Hi,
Jim
Becky.
and Becky.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Well, let's move into the particulars. Ted, what do you got for us?
Okay.
Oh,
We are tackling Saw. It's directed by James Wan and the screenplay by Lee Wannell. It has a running time of 103 minutes. It was released October 29th, 2004, but it also had an inconspicuous release in January of 2004 at Sundance, and we'll mention that in a little bit. It had a budget of $1.2 million, but it had a box office gross of $103.9 million.
That's incredible. It's only $1.2 million to make this?
Exactly.
Wow. With salaries?
With salaries and everything.
See, this just proves that Cary Elves is not a A-list celebrity. What did they pay him? $9,000?
Well, we'll let Ken get into the fact of what happened with Cary Elwes and his. But the big thing is that James Wan bet on himself essentially and took no cash up front and took part of the gross.
The residuals. Yes. Good bet.
Which, big bet. Is a great bet, and this was for the longest time, along with the Blair Witch, one of the highest as far as budget to gross movies, profitable.
Hey, big plug.
One of the best.
We've done Blair Witch. Listen to it.
Yes,
thanks.
We did. So on Rotten Tomatoes, no big surprise. The critic score is an even 50%, which is considered a splat. You would really understand why the critics would be 50-50 on this. This is not a movie for everybody. But it has an audience score of 84%. On IMDb, it has a rating of 7.6. So, Saw stars Lee Wannell as Adam, Cary Elwes as Dr. Lawrence Gordon, Danny Glover as Detective David Tapp, Ken Leung as Detective Stephen Singh, Dinah Meyer as Carrie, Mike Butters as Paul Guttrick as Mark, Michael Emerson as Zepp Hindle, Benito Martinez as Brett, Shawnee Smith as Amanda, Mackenzie Vega as Diana Gordon, Monica Potter as Allison Gordon, Ned Bellamy as Jeff, Alexandra Chun as Carla, and Tobin Bell as Jigsaw. Michael Emerson, who stars as Zepp, was in a very good TV show called Person of Interest. I don't know if anybody's seen Person of Interest.
Yeah, he was in that's right. He was pretty good in it too.
Yep. And of course, Tobin Bell. Tobin Bell is one of what I like to call those guys actors. He's been in so many different things, just as not necessarily a background player, but he was even in Mississippi Burning. He's been in a whole bunch of different stuff. And this is really his first movie that he really was a star. And kudos to him. He's made a lot of money playing Jigsaw. good for him.
Good for him.
And of course, we know Carrie Elways from The Princess Bride, which we did listen to that episode. And then, of course, we know Danny Glover as Richard Murtaugh from Lethal Weapon, which we did, unfortunately, all four of those movies.
Yeah.
Because he was too old for this shit.
Way to work that in. Beautiful. All right. Ken, what do you got for some of the production on this one?
Okay, so we could
have a little musical entrance.
Ken's
Tidbits.
It's Ken's Tidbits. Yeah, we should. We should have that. Hey, everybody, it's Ken's Tidbits.
So this film screenplay was written in 2001. It initially had a $30,000 budget to spend on the film, but as the script developed, it was clear that they needed more money. So they shot a low-budgeted, short-based film based on a scene of their movie. And it proved to be successful enough to attract the attention of Evolution Entertainment. They immediately formed a horror genre arm called Twisted Pictures and gave the writers and director a small budget, as Ted talked about the budget. It was filmed in 18 days. Danny Glover completed all of his scenes in 2. Shawnee Smith did all of hers in 1 day. We should have brought my child into this. My child does everything Saw.
Right.
He actually made the trap himself.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
The reverse bear trap?
Yeah, it's the reverse bear trap. He's very proud of that. And they've actually seen Saw the musical. Yeah,
Saw the musical?
They went downtown Chicago and saw the musical.
I did not know there was a musical.
Yep.
That's disturbing. And
is there a lot of singing and stuff in it?
I don't know. I don't.
That's disturbing.
I want to play a game.
Exactly. Do you want to play a game?
So this was originally intended to be a straight-to-video release, but after positive screenings, it was given a nod to become a premiere film. The script to Danny Glover, and he liked the idea of the detective because he had never done that before. Yeah, right.
Played a detective? Did he forget that he was Richard Murtaugh?
He just liked the idea of how what the detective has to go through. So I kept on thinking I'm just getting too old for this shit throughout the whole movie.
Of course.
So,
exactly right.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Mel Gibson to pop out of somewhere.
He should have been in the reverse bear trap.
Shawnee Smith was originally turned down the role for Amanda. It was offered to her a second time, and after she watched the original short film that they did, she accepted the role. And then the director was very high on her. I guess he had a crush on her when he was younger.
Yeah, I read that.
I remember
too.
her from summer school when she was pregnant in summer school.
Yeah, I love that movie.
And then, as far as any conflicts in this movie, well, Cary Elwes, he filed a lawsuit against the producers and the production company because he only received a very small amount of salary with back end revenues. He claimed that he had been promised 1% of the profits. And of course it made over $100 million, but they settled out of court. And eventually he came back for one of the sequels. So.
And that's probably the best of the sequels that he came back for, because it explains a lot about what happened in this movie, which is
But we're going to talk about this movie like we don't know anything about the sequels.
So. Yes.
Right, yes, because there's too many sequels. Some are very bad. But I will say this, though. I mentioned in the particulars that there was a release at Sundance. So I guess there are 2 different releases of this movie.
Yes, there's an NC-17 version
there
of
is
this.
An NC-17.
Is there? Oh.
I don't know if I've seen the NC-17 version. They had to cut some of the scenes, and one of the scenes was Shawnee Smith's scene
with the intestines.
With the intestines and everything.
That makes sense.
Interesting. Now I'm going to go out and try to find the NC-17 version. I didn't know that when I first started watching this movie. So
it's got to be available, right?
It's got to be somewhere, I would imagine. I mean, Twisted Pictures has made so much money off of this. And of course, now I believe Chris Rock owns the rights to Saw now.
The comedian actor?
Yes.
Yeah, he did one of the movies.
He starred in Spiral, which is a spinoff of Saw, which, if you've not seen Spiral, highly recommend it. You wouldn't think that it works, but it actually does. And I'm very happy that it does. It
Chris
was,
Rock just spirals out of control. His jokes go out of like.
Really?
He's not a jokey guy. He does really well in the movie, and it's actually a very decent movie. Which can't be said about all of these sequels. Some are very, very not good. Here's the thing: James Wan started to move on to do other things. Of course, he did The Conjuring. He moved on to other projects. I believe he's also the director of the Sinister series as well. He started that with Ethan Hawke. He's done quite a bit with his fame.
He's also
Very
a producer
prolific
on the new Salem Slot show.
Yes, he is.
Have you guys seen that?
I've not started it yet.
No.
Ken, you like Salem Slot, the original, made for TV.
Yeah. I have it in my queue, but I haven't watched it yet.
And
yes.
I recently found out that there was a Rob Lowe version that was done in the 90s of Salem's Lot.
Maybe. Straight to video.
Kind of like The Shining. The Shining miniseries.
Oh, with
done.
Weber? With
Steven Weber.
Straight to garbage.
Straight to garbage.
I did not like that at all.
Steven Weber. Yeah.
Steven Weber, yeah.
Not
the guy
good
from
at
Wings.
All. Yes,
from
that's
Wings.
pretty much what he's known for.
That and Ghost.
Yeah,
he plays
that's
the
true.
Bad guy in Ghost.
Ted, when is the first time you saw this movie?
Okay, so the first time I saw this movie in the theater. And it was with my wife. And I had been so soured on horror movies because they've been so disappointing up to this point. I was told by somebody I worked with that I needed to go see this movie. And I was very skeptical. I'm like, is the ending really worth going for? Because that's where 90% of the horror movies, they fail to, as we put it, stick the landing. And it's always the same ending, where the good guy wins and blah, 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 and everybody walks off happy and blah, blah, blah. And it's the same old trope. The first time I saw it, I absolutely loved this movie.
Man, don't give your review now.
It was a great experience. And the Saw movies, kind of like the Paranormal Activity movies, you have to see in a movie theater with other people. Because the reactions of other people are just as good as the movie, and it really makes the movie. I can't tell you how cool it was to see it in a movie theater full of people.
How about you, Ken?
I've been seeing it on and off for like years, but I really didn't like watch it from start to finish until this week. And yep. How about you, Eric?
Same with me. I've probably seen it on and off. Hell, I probably saw the sequels on and off too. I couldn't tell you which part was which part of the movie. So this first time for me this week as well, all the way through.
And I'll say the letdown from 1 to 2 was as bad as the Nightmare on Elm Street from 1 to 2. So the third one is actually it kind of mimics the Nightmare on Elm Street, where the third one is much better than the second one. But I believe James Wan and Lee Wannell actually came back for the third one. But that's what happens when you release your project to the whims of other people.
That's true.
It can lose its way, and it lost its way quite a few times.
So, Ken, what qualifies you to review this movie today?
I've been chained to the wall before.
By a girlfriend or wife?
It's his 15-thing gangbang he's part of every weekend.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. How about you, Ted?
I've also created a little creepy doll that runs on a tricycle and comes into the room and speaks in a very scary voice.
Nice. Well, for me, there have been nights that I've also considered cutting off my own foot. So, unfortunately, I did not do it like they did in this movie. Spoiler alert.
You thought about during the movie, though. So.
Well, because I was chained to a pole and forced to watch this movie, I did think about cutting off my own foot.
Oh, now come on.
Yeah, so. Well, let's go into the setup here and talk about Saw. Adam, a photographer, awakens in a dilapidated bathtub with his ankle chained to a pipe, much like I was watching this movie. Across the room is oncologist Dr. Lawrence Gordon, and between them is the corpse of an apparent suicide victim holding a revolver and a microcassette recorder. It's kind of like James Bond-esque, isn't it? The microfiche? It's a micro recorder. Both men find a tape in their pockets, and Adam retrieves the recorder. Adam's tape urges him to survive, while Gordon's tape orders him to kill Adam by 6 p.m., or his wife Allison and their daughter Diana will be killed. After listening to a tape, the duo uncovers a clue leading Adam to find a bag containing 2 hacksaws inside the toilet. Both men try to saw through their chains, but Adam's saw breaks. Gordon realizes the saws are intended for their feet and identifies their captor as the Jigsaw Killer, a serial killer who tests his victim's will to survive through murderous contraptions known as games, whom Gordon knows about because he was once a suspect. 5 months prior, Gordon, after discussing the terminal brain cancer patient John Kramer with his medical interns, was interrogated by Detective David Tapp and Stephen Singh, who found his pen light at the scene of one of Jigsaw's games. Gordon's alibi cleared him, but he agreed to view the testimony of heroin addict Amanda Young, the only known survivor of one of Jigsaw's traps. Tapp and Singh later found Jigsaw's warehouse using the videotape from Amanda's game. There, they detained Jigsaw and saved a man from a trap, but Jigsaw managed to escape after he critically injured Tapp. Singh was killed by a shotgun trap while pursuing him. Wow, that's a lot of action.
A lot to take in.
Where do we start?
Beginning.
At the beginning.
Yeah, because it's told in a non-linear fashion. The first scene, we wake up in a bathtub full of water, and you see something float down the drain that you wonder if it's important, but you're not for sure if it's important. I love the introduction of the 2 characters. I think that you have Adam, he wakes up and he's freaking out. And he believes that the old fairy tale that people would cut you up and take your kidneys.
Oh, yeah, put you in a bathtub of ice. And
Right.
Yeah.
I love the fact, he's
looking around his body. Do I have any cut marks? Yeah.
Right. You get to experience his panic along with him. But then we are introduced to Dr. Gordon, who also woke up before Adam did, and has had a little bit of time to process, and he kind of tries to calm Adam down. And I love the introduction of the 2 characters. I think it's really interesting dichotomy between the 2, that you also get to see that there's a man laying in the middle of the floor that appears to be dead by suicide.
Yes.
But you also notice, if you look very carefully as they go around the room, between the 2 characters, that in one hand is it is it a 357 Magnum?
No, it's just a normal revolver.
Just a revolver?
It's a 6-shot revolver, probably a 38.
Okay, so in one hand is that, and then in the other hand is a tape recorder. And so it's like, okay, what are those 2 things for?
Right.
It's just a really good setup to get you into the story. It doesn't do too much, but you get a sense for these characters about how they process things. And Adam's more emotional and frantic, whereas Dr. Gordon is more steady and more thoughtful. But we'll get into Dr. Gordon's thoughtfulness as things
changes.
As things
a little
progress.
bit, yes, yeah.
It's a great start to the movie.
I'm confused right off the bat. So he's in this tub, and he's kind of underwater, right?
Right.
Yes.
I mean, if
He's floating in the water.
He's floating in the water? I thought he was submerged
otherwise
in the
he would
water.
have drowned.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I thought he was submerged in the water. Like he was underneath it.
No. He's floating. I mean,
We all float
otherwise
up
he
here.
would have drowned.
I thought he was under the water, and that's why he was trying to catch his breath and everything when he came up.
Well, he's freaking out. He's panicking.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought, and then that's the reason why I was questioning it, because then I'm like, well, Kerry Wallace would have been known that he was in there, or how much time had been in there since he's been in the tub, and then, like you said, then whatever goes down the drain at the beginning, I guess the stopper was pulled as soon as he got up.
Right.
And it went with him, so it's a good setup. I like his reactions. I think it's a little bit overreacting, and but at the same time, you have the great yin and yang thing going here. One guy is calm, cool, and collected, and the other guy is just freaking out. I think the kidney thing was kind of a little too much.
It's funny. I mean, it's more funny than anything.
I guess that dead guy in the middle is the interesting part for me in this first part, because I'm trying to figure out what's the purpose of the dead guy, other than maybe letting them know that the guy that took him is a serious guy. He's already killed one, and he's not afraid to kill again, right? So it's a very nasty, nasty bathroom.
It's a very, yes, it is.
It's very, yes. It's.
I like it when he has to go through all the shit to try to find whatever he has in the toilet, but then realizes it's not in the toilet. It's not in the actual.
That's the first time it's like, okay, that wasn't very smart. He should have went to the back of the toilet first before sticking your hands into the poop. But,
yeah, right.
I have to admit, I got a little nauseous when he was going through the toilet shit. I was like,
I love his reaction though, because Adam has a lot of really funny lines.
He has a lot of funny lines in this.
Yes. When he's going through the toilet, it's like, what does he say? It's like, it's not a whole lot of solids. But there's another interesting thing. The first time that you watch it, you don't necessarily get it. But he goes through and he finds the hacksaws, but he notices something else in the bag and he immediately throws it into the tub where he was put. What does he know, or what did he see that freaked him out? That's a real interesting thing, because now you know, okay, it's cliche for the movie because it's one of the most famous lines from the movie, but the game started because now Adam's hiding something from Dr. Gordon. But you have to catch it. You have to catch that he sees something, and he's not just throwing the bag away, that there was something in the bag.
The first part of it is them kind of just hiding things from each other. It's interesting because of the fact that Adam is actually hiding a lot more. Adam knows
hiding
a
whole lot
more. It's these little things here and there. It's the bag. It's the wallet. When he finds the picture, and that just happens to be where Adam looks. That one's a little bit too planty for me. Where it's like, okay, he's going to go look at his wallet and pull the picture out, and instead the picture you have, the wife and daughter is,
The bag for me is more rather than the wallet, because the wallet he's just innocently looking behind the picture and finds the Polaroid. That to me is more believable than what's in the bag. Say the line from 7. What's in the box?
Well, that's the other thing is the mastermind behind all this. Is he that intelligent? Let's say than Kevin Spacey's character in 7. He's done the research and knows how people are going to react. And I don't think he's that kind of character.
Okay, so...
Or at least there's nothing to tell me that, at least.
There's not a whole lot to go on. Okay, but he's that smart. You have to watch the sequels to find out just how smart John Kramer is.
Okay.
He's very smart. And he is really astute. But I like when Dr. Gordon realizes that this is all part of the jigsaw game. And I love when they find out they each have a envelope. Yeah, and then the connection, and they have an envelope in their thing, and each one has different things in it, but they each have a tape. And I love the first time you get to hear the tape. And you get to hear Jigsaw talking as himself to each Adam and to Dr. Gordon. You get the layout of what we're dealing with. We're dealing with somebody who is seriously demented. They are, lack of a better term, out for blood. They're playing a serious game. And it's a matter of life and death. I think that they should have realized that the key wasn't going to open the locks, but just as that they should have realized that the hacksaws weren't going to hack through the chains.
But when you're in a panic mode, I mean, you're going to try everything.
Exactly, but I love the way that Dr. Gordon realizes now that after they've listened to the tapes, we're dealing with the Jigsaw killer, and then we learn all about Dr. Gordon.
Right.
And Dr. Gordon is an oncologist. He doesn't really take the fact that he's telling people that they only have a few months to live very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And you get that feeling that, wow, okay, he's really whistling past the graveyard. And then we find out just how much he does.
Mm-hmm.
He's not living a good life. I feel bad for his daughter. I feel bad for his wife. He's disconnected from them. Not so much his daughter, but he seems like he's a good dad. But as far as a partner, he's not a good partner.
Well, we don't know what happened with their marriage. They don't really go into details about what's going on. And we don't know if it's his fault or her fault or whatever the case may be. And I don't even know if he really...
We do see he's writing a book, and he's very into his work. So we know he's very preoccupied.
He is, but what is causing him to consider cheating on his wife? I'm going to say consider, because I don't know if he's ever gone through with it before.
That's a good question, because I'm not sure if he has either.
He does seem very nervous.
Cagey.
Yes,
very
cagey.
Nervous
yes.
and cagey.
Yeah.
Because
it's a very seedy motel that they go to.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, you got the initial. I mean, she's there in the hospital with him, and he's giving about the patient and stuff like that. And that's when we see the orderlies correct him and telling him that the patient has a name and stuff.
Yeah, Zep.
So that's our first introduction to Zep.
Yeah.
Which here again, a brilliant introduction of a character who's in the background, knows a little bit more than he should. It's the first setup of the first character we're okay, this could be the guy.
I really like the part where he's talking to his daughter, tells her he's going to read a story to her when he gets back. But then she goes, "Are you going to leave us?" Everything changed then. And he realized how much he cared about his family. And so when he gets to the motel, he doesn't want to do it anymore. He realized how much he really cares about his family, especially his daughter.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder how she knew that.
She probably overheard them fighting.
She's heard them fighting, but
the mysterious man, did he say something to her?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah.
If you really, as a kid, that is the biggest fear of all. That somebody's in your room and it's actually real.
Right.
That's freaking terrifying. One of those things is the first time in the movie I was okay, we're dealing with something different and I like it. This is cool. I'm on board. I actually am scared. And to do that with me for a movie is very difficult to do. Yeah, and then we're introduced to Tap, the detective, who's kind of like Dr. Gordon. Very preoccupied with his work.
Murtaugh
is just obsessed with his work and trying to find out who Jigsaw is. And we start to see the Jigsaw games. We get to see the guy in the razor wire.
Yep.
Ken brings up an interesting comparison, and I'll let him do it. But we got the guy with the razor wire, and then we get to meet Amanda, with the reverse bear trap,
Yep.
and then the guy with the candle, and he's covered in like napalm or whatever he's covered in,
A flammable substance of some sort.
flammable substance.
Well, how about Amanda having to cut open the guy who's still alive?
Yes.
Yes.
That is just, I mean, it's a worst nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a worst nightmare come true. And then to realize that the guy's not dead that you're hacking into after you've been told he's dead.
Right.
It's psychological.
Like, you know what? I already started. You know, might as well finish. You know, yeah.
It's psychological terror is what it is. And then you get to meet the puppet too, which is
puppet. I love the puppet. Yeah.
The puppet is just one of those things. And that's the first nod to Dario Argento. If you don't know who Dario Argento is, he's the Italian master of horror. Made some very, very interesting movies. But he's used the puppet thing in some of his movies before. And I'll mention the other one when we get to start to see it. But I kind of dig the puzzles. These guys have to figure out how to get through, and Amanda's is just wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I love her at the police station.
Yes.
Her reaction to everything, it's you could just see it. She's broken.
It's
but
fucked
at the
her
same
up.
time,
yeah,
she is happy to kind of be alive to a certain extent. It's almost like she regrets, but she doesn't regret what she just did.
Exactly.
And that's kind of a cool way of doing all that stuff. In fact, they even said, because she only did the one day of takes, that it was a very grueling day with all the stuff that she had to do.
Yeah.
You know, just think of all the emotional type of acting that she had to do in a very short span of time. She pulled it off pretty good. I don't even consider her a very good actress throughout the years that I've seen her. She's had little parts here and there, and I talked about Summer School. That's kind of like the biggest part I could think of her in. But here, she actually shows that she has some decent acting chops.
Oh yeah, no, you can tell as far as an actor, she comes off looking like she's screwed up. She's not going to be the same.
No.
Once you've been in one of Jigsaw's puzzles, you're not going to be the same when you get out.
Lifetime of therapy for you.
Yes, it's yeah.
I'm already in lifetime of therapy, so
yeah.
Yeah, and I like the introduction to the two cops. It's a different take on the cops as well, where you start to see the main cop, who is Danny Glover, Tap. He becomes singularly focused on Dr. Gordon and doesn't want to look at anybody else.
He becomes obsessed with it.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we find out why he becomes obsessed with it.
Right.
Love the names Tap and Sing.
Yes.
Just
like a law firm.
Yes. Yes.
No, for me, it sounds like a Vegas act.
Yes.
Tap and Sing.
Right. It's very interesting, but I like the way that they play off of each other. But even before what happens to Sing, he's obsessed with his work, which is also a thing that Jigsaw he plays with a little bit. But
I'm confused about one thing, though. Why is Tap so wanting the doctor to stay there and watch this girl give out her testimony? I don't understand that at all.
It's all about watching the reactions. It's one of those things that cops will do from time to time.
Look for the reactions of the person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How they react to it.
But they already know he's innocent.
Tap doesn't believe that he is. Tap wants to solve this case. And right now, Dr. Gordon is their only suspect.
Yeah.
And he wants to see his reactions to her testimony. And that's not out of the realm of possibility. It's kind of one of the sick things sometimes the cops do to try to get a confession.
Sure.
And they want to see if he's enjoying it. Because sometimes really sick people, they will enjoy watching people relive what they put them through. Trust me.
But it doesn't seem like he gets the reaction that he was hoping for.
No, And Dr. Gordon reacts exactly the way he should. Shocked. And just completely blown away.
I don't think there was anything he couldn't say.
Right.
But Dan, Lever, he's still focused on
Obsessed.
it. So
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's watching that tape, and I'll give him credit. Watching that tape over and over again and getting the fire alarm and everything like that. He's not a typical horror movie cop.
no,
He's actually pretty good at what he does. Until he's
that's how he finds out where the killer is. He's looking at the background. He sees something that makes him realize that it could be a certain place. Hears sounds, a fire alarm going off. So yeah, he's attention to detail kind of guy. He knows how. Whereas Singh, he's like, hey, let's go get some beers. You need to get laid. Type of stuff.
Yeah.
Trying to get him out of this little obsession that he's in.
Yeah.
But then they go and they decide they could handle it by themselves.
See, that's the part. This is one of the parts is because they should have gotten a warrant.
Yeah.
Because anything that they
Then the
find
movie would
when
be
they
over.
break in,
Right.
anything that they find or who they find when they break in is now all of that evidence is tainted and is not going to be admissible. It's a horror movie. You have to put some of the logic aside. I love the fact that they go in 2-on-1 and they're going through that warehouse and you're like, holy shit, this is crazy. The fact that they're going in by themselves. And essentially they find Jigsaw's lair.
Yeah.
But did he want them to find their
Exactly.
lair?
Right?
I don't think he did.
I was
don't
thinking
think
that
so.
too.
No,
I don't know.
I did think he was taken by surprise by it.
Okay. I completely buy that. And I'll tell you, the first time I watched the movie, I bought that as well. Which is another callback. Why don't you go ahead, Ken, and say what you think Saw is? And we'll compare it, because this is another point where...
It does feel a lot like Seven, because
There you go.
It does.
He's punishing people for doing things in their lives that they should be more appreciative of their lives, first of all. He's trying to almost make them what's more important to you type of deal. So it's kind of very similar to Seven in that aspect.
And Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman go above and beyond the Call of Duty to find the apartment for Kevin Spacey. They find Kevin Spacey. It shocks him. And he runs and gets away.
Right.
But instead, in Saw, what happens? Jigsaw gets the upper hand. Okay, he may have been shocked. I think he purposefully lets Tap live and doesn't cut his throat all the way.
He could have easily done that too.
He could have easily slit his throat.
Precision, though, to be able to do that.
Look at all of the puzzles that he's put together. He's very precise. He knows what he's doing. He lets Tap live, and Singh goes off and follows him, and Singh he makes one of the horror movie's biggest mistakes. He doesn't watch where he's walking.
Right.
And he trips the shotguns, and oh my God.
Boom.
That's just...
I wish we didn't see the wire either, though. I wish they would just... All of a sudden, he realizes that he tripped on something.
I think the wire builds tension.
I do too.
Kind of like how Adam pulls out the thing at the beginning, and you see that, and it floats down the drain. It creates a tension that you're... Oh no, something's gonna happen. What could possibly happen? And you're not expecting shotguns to freaking blow his head off.
There's a reason why I don't believe it. That Jigsaw figured this. Jigsaw got shot. He's injured.
Yes, He is injured.
So I don't think he expected it. I think I think he had an escape route if something like this were to happen.
Yes. Yeah.
But I don't actually think he actually had planned them to do that. I think, and I also don't think he was planning on killing that guy that he had there anytime soon. Because he even walks in and even says, he says, "You're awake faster than I thought you would. I should have, used like a stronger chloroform or something like that to keep him out." So he wasn't ready yet.
That thing that he's attached to, holy shit, that's fucking scary as hell.
Yeah.
That's something right out of Edgar Allan Poe, which, if you see the sequel, there's a bad pendulum comparison, but that's another story.
And we also see like a scale of what the two guys are in as far as the bathroom and the dead guy in the middle and everything. He already has something like this planned.
We get to see the diorama that Jigsaw's made.
We don't know how much time has passed between when this happens and then when Cary Elwes and the other character are abducted. I don't know if it's days later, because if you look at Danny Glover's place later on, it looks pretty. It's a shithole.
It looks like some time has passed. I also like the fact that Dr. Gordon and Adam realize that they're being taped, and we get to see the pullback of them in black and white, and we know somebody's watching them, and we get to see the black gloves, which is the other nod to Dario Argento, is the bad guy wearing the black gloves. That's in almost all of his movies.
Yeah, they see that the window is two-way because Adam breaks the window because of his frustration. Right. But what's really weird is the fact that they try to pretend that Adam got killed by smoking the cigarette, right?
Ha ha. Yes.
Sounds a little to wake him up, right?
But the note even says these cigarettes aren't going to kill you.
The blood of the dead man was supposed to have poison. So, and when he says that the cigarettes there's nothing in the cigarette that's going to kill you, but he gives the intention to Dr. Gordon that, hey, if you put the blood, could have poison in it.
Right.
So it's very, very intelligent, and I like the use of the paint to mark the X, that it has to be charged by light, and so they wouldn't have seen it immediately. It's very interesting.
I like how Cary Elwes is. He's like, "You're not that smart to know that there was an X over there. You're not that smart to know to turn off the light. Come on."
Right, exactly.
How did you know?
Yeah. Right. And then we find the first time that Dr. Gordon breaks down is when he gets the picture of his daughter and wife tied up.
And I love that because that changes him.
The whole dynamic changes.
Yep.
I mean, even before he saw the picture, he thought about already using the gun or something to kill this guy. He's thinking already about offing this guy off, even though outside of his own life, nothing is on beyond that. So it's a character study too of what people will do in certain circumstances. And Adam, at first, you feel is like the asshole here, the complete, jerk. He's overreacting to everything. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say overreacting. I mean, you're captured and you're now
you're
this thing
chained to a pipe. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I would have used the chainsaw on the pipe.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, but it wouldn't have worked there. I don't think it was sharp enough.
If it's going to cut through bone, it's going to cut through. I think it would cut through a pipe. No,
the metal on it's not sharp enough. The hacksaw's not sharp enough to go through.
Sharp enough to cut that stupid. Well, we won't get into that just yet.
Yeah, let's just wait on that. But yes, let's go to the middle part here where we can talk about a little bit more fun stuff.
All right, the build. In the present, Allison and Diana are held captive at their apartment as their captor watches Adam and Gordon through a hidden camera. The house is simultaneously watched by Tapp, who, after being discharged from the police following Singh's death, has become obsessed with the Jigsaw case and remains convinced that Gordon is the killer. Meanwhile, Gordon finds a box containing 2 cigarettes, a lighter, and a one-way cell phone. Adam asks Gordon for the cigarette, but Gordon discourages this. He recounts his abduction in a parking garage by a pig-masked figure. Adam recalls his own abduction when he returned home to find a puppet in a dark room where he stored photos of Gordon. Held at gunpoint, Allison calls her husband and warns him not to trust Adam, who admits to Gordon that he was paid by Tapp to spy on him, and reveals his knowledge of Gordon's affair with one of his medical students, whom he had visited the night he was abducted. Gordon deduces that the affair is the reason why he is being tested. Adam finds a photo of Allison and Diana's captor, whom Gordon identifies as Zepp Hindle, an orderly at his hospital.
Here we get the two big misdirections. We get Zepp really being formulated as to being Jigsaw. We really think that Zepp is Jigsaw at this point because it follows the formula. But we also kind of wonder, because Tap is a little bit out there, is he possibly Jigsaw?
I never considered Tap as Jigsaw. Never even occurred to me.
Oh, I did, because he's just completely out there.
Yeah, but I never considered him. He's not mentally. He's so out there that he's unstable, but not unstable enough to orchestrate these kind of games. In my opinion.
Or he's part of it, the whole thing.
It never occurred to me, but all right. We'll go with it for now, sure.
These two guys are set up perfectly to completely misdirect your attention. Zepp is not a good guy. We obviously find that. He's taken two women, or a woman and a girl, hostage and is prepared to kill them.
This is the difference between Seven and this. I don't think Kevin Spacey's character would do it to a child.
Well, that's a discussion for Seven, which we did.
Well, you got to always amp up the movie a little bit more when you're doing a spin-off, right?
Right. I was just kind of surprised because here we have the orderly. We see him earlier in the film at the hospital, and he's more about acknowledging, the sick
humanity.
Guy.
Yes.
Yeah. He doesn't come across to me as being somebody who is going to harm a child. So I wouldn't. When all this is happening to wife and child, it makes me wonder.
Here's the thing. He's also dismissed and treated like shit, which is a big thing in horror movies. The guy who is treated like shit is usually going to come back and be the guy that's going to kill you.
I didn't think he was treated like shit, though.
Oh, Dr. Gordon dismisses him and makes fun of him.
Dr. Gordon actually said that the orderlies have a close relationship to our patients.
He's making fun of it.
I never got that.
It's so sarcastic. Cary Elwes plays the sarcasm for Dr. Gordon at that point where he feels like he's got the world by the tail, until the point that you mentioned where his daughter asks him, "Are you going to leave us?" That really changes his character. Up until that point, he thinks he's got the world by the tail, man. And he is arrogant as fuck. And he is sarcastic. The way he dismisses Zepp, and he has no care for the patient that's there to tell them that they only have months to live because they have a brain tumor. He doesn't give a shit. And that's why he's being tested. And it makes complete sense that Zepp is the bad guy. As far as doing it to a kid, she's just collateral damage at this point.
To be honest with you, I'm not buying it. I didn't buy it when I was watching this because, first of all, the reveal is too early.
Not really.
He's covered up all the way up until the scene where he kills Singh and he hurts Tap. But then 2 minutes later, you get to show his face now. I mean, it's...
At that point, we're about an hour into the movie?
Yeah, about.
That is usually the perfect time for your reveal of the bad guy. I have watched so many horror movies, you have no idea. That's about the time you reveal who the bad guy is. And then it's a game of cat and mouse at that point with the good and the bad guy.
But isn't it inconsistent with the Jigsaw character, who everything is a choice?
But we don't know that yet.
Well, I think we do to a certain extent up to this point.
You're going to make me go to the final.
Don't go to the final, but
don't do it.
We have no idea.
Don't go in the light.
We have no idea.
Caroline.
who's playing a game and who's not playing a game. We don't have one singular idea as to who is, at this point in time, Zepp is the bad guy.
Well,
He's the one that's taken Dr. Gordon's wife and daughter hostage. We know that now. He's the one that's watching them through the video camera. He's had his picture taken by Adam, because the reveal comes that Adam has pictures of Dr. Gordon, and Adam has also taken pictures of Zepp. And Dr. Gordon identifies Zepp as the bad guy.
But you've already stated
I love
that...
Dr. Gordon's wife. She's smarter than Zepp, which should have been a tell.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not buying this with Zepp here, only because, okay, we've already stated a trend with Jigsaw. All the murders that he has committed up to this time have been a game. And now you're saying that he doesn't have to play a game with the wife and the child. He could just kill them. And that's inconsistent with the character up to this point. That's why I'm like, this is odd to have them tied up, and because it doesn't fit any of the previous ones that have happened. And that's where I'm coming from on it.
I can totally see where you're coming from. But the first time you're watching this movie, you get wrapped up into the fact that Carrie Elways and Adam are playing a game. End of Carrie Elways' game is his wife and daughter die. This is one of the things that this movie does to you psychologically the first time you watch it, and even sometimes the second time you watch it. It messes with you because you get wrapped up into the fact and you start to ignore the tells. What you're talking about, Ken, is one of the tells. That Zepp isn't the bad guy. The huge spoiler alert. If you've not seen Saw, stop listening to us right now.
Yes.
Stop listening to us right now and watch the movie.
It's too
because
late.
From here on out, this is going to be a massive spoiler. But what you're talking about, Ken, is one of the tells. One of the tells is that Zepp being the bad guy and having them tied up is not consistent with Jigsaw. Jigsaw does watch the other victims. So that's another thing that causes this disconnect and causes you to rethink the fact that Zepp could be the bad guy. Because he's watching Dr. Gordon and Adam in the bathroom. The movie plays with you psychologically perfectly. It distracts.
Because all I was just saying at this particular point, I don't know if I'm buying him. Doesn't mean that he isn't, but I guess now we said that he is.
It's magic, because that's what magic is. Magic is misdirection.
No, I get what you're saying. I know what they're trying to do. I'm just saying you bought into some of that misdirection, and I'm just saying I didn't really buy into that whole misdirection.
And see, and
there's a misdirection that fooled me, and we'll get that to the end of the movie.
See?
But I'm just saying this portion of it to me.
Perfect.
But I'm saying there are some portions of here where I'm just not buying, and right now it's this, Zepp.
Now, I bought that Zepp was the bad guy.
Okay.
Completely.
Because you also were saying that Danny Glover might be the bad guy at this point too.
Because in my brain, I'm trying to put the puzzle together. Ironically enough, Jigsaw, blah blah blah. The way that I operate as far as horror movies go, I try to figure out who the killer is.
Sure.
The aha moment for me is everything comes together for Zepp. And we have Dr. Gordon identify him. Even Tap starts to identify Zepp as the bad guy. He loses Dr. Gordon and goes to Zepp because he runs into the house and saves Dr. Gordon's wife and daughter. It's a great setup. Why don't we just get to the ending, to the finale, because everything is going to tie itself to the finale.
Okay, sticking the landing. Here we go. Zepp, seeing that Gordon has still not killed Adam, moves to murder Allison and Diana, but Allison frees herself and fights him. The struggle attracts Tap's attention, and he saves Allison and Diana before chasing Zepp to the sewers, where he is shot in the chest after a brief fight. Gordon, only aware of the gunshots and screaming, is shocked and loses reach of the cell phone. In desperation, he saws his foot and shoots Adam with a corpse revolver. Zepp enters the bathroom to kill Gordon, but Adam, having survived the gunshot, bludgeons him to death with a toilet tank lid. Gordon crawls out of the bathroom to find help while Adam searches Zepp's body for a key. He finds another tape, which reveals that Zepp was just another victim of Jigsaw, following rules to obtain the antidote for a slow-acting poison in his body. The corpse, lying in the room, suddenly rises to its feet. It turns out to be John Kramer, who is the real Jigsaw killer. John tells Adam the key to his chain was in the bathtub. It went down the drain when Adam had first awoken and drained the water. Adam attempts to shoot John with Zepp's gun, but John electrically shocks him through the chain. John exits the bathroom before sealing the door, leaving Adam alone to die. Ooh.
You are to die, Mr. Bond.
That's right.
One of the things from the previous section, we get to see how Adam gets caught. We'll almost have to be in the movie theater. It's the picture taking. And you get the flash of the light, how it goes back out, and it messes with your eyes. That is so terrifying. That
was a pretty cool scene.
That flash.
Yeah, we didn't hit that earlier.
Love that. It is so scary because you can do so many different things with that. And I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that I think that's brilliant. Tap's watching Gordon's house. He sees the flashes go off. And he acknowledges that they're gunshots.
Right.
And we get to see it inside of Tap's apartment, which is a conspiracy theorist's wet dream. He's literally wallpapered his house in stuff for Jigsaw. And he's obsessed with catching it. And I love the fact that Tep does save Gordon's wife and daughter. I also like the fact that Zepp uses the phone to set Dr. Gordon off.
Right.
He breaks Dr. Gordon because Dr. Gordon has until 6 o'clock. It gets to be 6 o'clock, and he's had one conversation with his wife and daughter, and then he hears Zepp tell him the game's over. He loses his complete shit, and he saws his fucking foot off, which is insane. Carrie always plays it perfectly. My question, the phone starts to ring, okay, after we know Tep has saved his wife and daughter. Is that Diana calling that cell phone, telling him that she's safe?
Maybe.
I think it is. And the fact that he doesn't take his own advice when he was telling Adam to use his shirt to grab the original recorder, if he had used his shirt instead of to make a tourniquet, to use it to grab the phone, he realizes that Diana's okay. He doesn't saw his foot off. Psychologically, that's more devastating to me. I think that that's her calling on that phone. Dr. Gordon has completely lost connection with reality at this point. He is sawing his foot off to get away. He's an animal at that point, because an animal caught in a trap will bite its own foot off to get away. Jigsaw has turned Dr. Gordon into an animal, and he shoots Adam, and you think that Adam's gone. It's one of the craziest, sickest things ever. Somehow Zepp gets the upper hand on Tap, which is an amazing chase scene where they're just running through, and Tep dies. And you're shocked because you figure If Saw played by the horror rules,
Horror rules, huh? Okay.
just like Jamie Kennedy's character in Scream. If this movie played by the rules,
Yeah.
Tep is the one who catches the bad guy at the end, saves Adam, and saves Dr. Gordon.
But no.
The moment he dies, it's a holy shit moment. Because there's no good guys on the way for rescue. Tep is running all on his own. All of a sudden, the last good guy is gone. And when Zepp walks into the bathroom, you're like, holy shit, he's going to kill Dr. Gordon and Adam. And when Adam stands up and takes the lid of the toilet and just obliterates Zepp, it's so shocking. It's a WTF moment. Because now the bad guy's gone, but they're still caught. Because Dr. Gordon, he already looks white. He's already lost so much blood.
Oh yeah, looks like he's about to pass out.
It looks great.
Yeah,
that's great looking.
It's great makeup. You're left desperate at that point as to what's going to happen. Cary Elwes does an amazing acting job. You feel his desperation.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you feel his compassion for Adam having to leave him behind.
I don't know if I feel any compassion.
Oh,
I think he has an excuse to leave.
Oh so, God, no!
You're okay. You'll be okay. It's just a flesh wound.
He shot him in the shoulder.
Yeah, it's just a flesh wound.
So he's gonna survive being shot in the shoulder. It's not like Mr. White and Reservoir or Mr. Orange and Reservoir Dogs that gets shot in the stomach and is going to die. This is me personally. I feel the compassion that Dr. Gordon has for Adam at that point. That he has to leave him behind while he goes to try to get help. And Adam has to say goodbye to the one person who's still alive, that knows they're still alive. At this point, we don't know anybody else knows that they're alive. If you're like me, you've completely forgotten about the body that's on the floor.
All right, first of all, I like the switcheroo where Adam's character is now the one that is calm, cool, and collective.
Yes.
He's trying to settle the doctor down, and so he doesn't
screams at him not to cut his leg off.
Right.
Cut his leg off. Yeah. So the table is turned. If anybody has compassion, it's definitely Adam. Because after he does cut off his foot, he shoots at him. And he isn't and I'm sure he's not a gunsman. And I don't think he intended just to shoot him in the shoulder. He
also just cut his fucking foot off.
He just cut his foot off. I get it.
He's shaking.
But I don't think he has the compassion that you think he does. I think all he cares about is getting to his wife and to his daughter. That's the only reason why he's leaving it there. Here's the thing, and we don't know. This is one of the things that, unless you watch the sequels, which I haven't, we don't know what happens to Adam. For all we know, that Adam is dead and gone, and he never comes back for Adam. We don't know. Because Adam is still alive when Jigsaw closes the door on him. And I wonder if he had this electrocuted thing in his hand the whole time while he's lying there and just hits him with electrocution from time to time.
No, we saw that Zepp done. He's the one that electrocuted him.
Do we ever know where this bathroom is?
A Motel 6.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a Motel 6. It's in that area.
Is it his little lair area?
Yes, but I don't think it's in the building that Jigsaw housed all of his stuff, but it's in that construction
realm,
the old beat up, destructed zone that his lair was in.
I do like the twist that Jigsaw's been there
twist.
The whole time. I like it. It's great.
I didn't fucking amazing.
The fact that he just was there the whole time and just listened to these guys go back and forth. It's pretty ingenious. I'll give them that credit.
I got up and clapped and whooped when that happened.
Yeah.
I was so exhilarated and happy. They got me.
Yep, they got me too on that one. But do you like the ending here? Do you like
Yes.
after that? So you like
I
going to black
love
and
it.
not knowing what happens
Yeah.
to Adam?
I like that ending, actually. I do.
Yes. It's awesome.
You make good
Fucking
points,
amazing.
Ken. Does he leave him there to die? Does he just
Yes.
electrocute him from time to time? Just to hear his screams?
We don't have to know.
We don't have to know, but then we can't say that the character is compassionate to Adam as well, because we
Dr.
don't
Gordon
know.
is. Jigsaw is not.
I understand that, but I don't think the doctor is either. I don't think he cares at this particular point. He just lost his mind.
And his foot.
He just
And his
his
foot.
foot.
Yes.
The last thing he cares about is Adam.
Honestly, let's be honest. He probably passes out in another 20 feet.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't have the energy to go find someone.
He's not going to make it out of there.
No, Jigsaw probably killed him.
It'd be funny if
We
Jigsaw
don't
went
know.
back out. Jigsaw went back out and just threw him back in, and be like, and then closed the door on both of them.
It is one of the best endings ever.
It's
a pretty cool ending.
And it's why the sequels suck. Because they don't stick the landing. And it doesn't live up to the ending of this movie. We don't need to know anything more about John Kramer. We get everything we need to know in those flashes that we get as things we get from the past.
I like to know how he got there.
The boom, 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 boom.
Was he in the hospital?
He was. He was the patient. I love the fact that we get that boom, 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 boom. That it happens so fast, where you get the stuff from the past, and you get to see all of the different hints of who Jigsaw is. I love it because it doesn't sit and concentrate on it. It hits you like a Mack truck. Boom, 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 boom. And then you get him standing up. And like I said, when he stood up, it was exhilarating.
Yeah.
I'm like, this movie did what very few horror movies does. It broke the rules. And it changed everything. That's why I love this movie. Because we don't need to know what happens to Adam. We don't need to know what happens to Jigsaw.
As far as Jigsaw, though, how long was he given to live? Wasn't he given like 3 months or something like that? Wasn't he given a terminal?
Yes, but here we go. In the sequels, we find out that he's been given drugs that extend his life a little bit.
But let's not go into the sequels. Let's just say, was it initially given 3 months?
It was like 3 to 4 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is perfect because it gives Tep time to lose his mind and create his conspiracy theory den. It's great.
Well, that's the thing is I would like to have known the time frame a little bit better throughout the movie, so I knew where Tap was. I mean, because it's going to take a while for him to recover from being sliced in the throat, and then of course he's going to be released from police duty because he went through a lot of shit. So there's got to be some time here. But I'm also curious on Jigsaw. What made Jigsaw decide this was the route to take? I would have liked maybe seen some flashbacks of Jigsaw, with his mind contemplating all this stuff up to kind of like going back to the beginning and doing a quick montage.
Okay,
I guess.
So one of the things that I've always missed, and I've watched this movie a lot, on the table where John Kramer is being reviewed by Dr. Gordon, on his patient's table is an outline drawing of the reverse bear trap.
Is there?
Yes. I didn't notice it until this time after I had read the trivia stuff on IMDb. He's starting to formulate this plan because nobody has compassion in this movie until they're presented with the game. Then all of a sudden they have, like Amanda. Now Amanda has a new love for life. And you figure if Dr. Gordon lives, he has a new found love for life. It makes sense. Because when John Kramer's laying in the bed, Nobody there has any sympathy for him. Dr. Gordon sure doesn't.
True.
And and those students that Dr. Gordon's talking to, they don't. Zepp's the only one that really identifies with anybody.
Do you think he already got to Zepp at that time?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't think so. John Kramer, we find out, is very intelligent, and I think that he realizes he can use Zepp as a pawn.
Why
in
use
this game.
Why use Zepp though? That's the one question I had. I understand everybody else he went after in the movie to a certain extent. Zepp is the one guy who actually, like you said, shows compassion. So why is he being punished by Jigsaw?
That's the sick part. Because Jigsaw wants to be in the room with Gordon and Adam, and he needs somebody to take Gordon's wife and daughter hostage. If there's one victim in this movie, it's Zepp. And that's why his death is the most tragic. Adam caves his skull in.
Yeah.
And
well, I would also go with Adam too, because Adam really hasn't doing anything bad either. I mean, he's been hired almost like a private investigator to take pictures. That's it. And he hasn't even shown anybody those pictures.
He's on the seedier side. He's not without sin.
I wouldn't say he's not without sin, but the sin that he's committed is very, I don't know, it's not comparable to the rest of what's and the thing was
what is Adam's sins? Just being a seedy private
takes pictures.
He's selling his soul. He's taking pictures of people and then making money off of their plight.
Okay,
and
that's what I do.
That's the way. He's making his money not in a honorable fashion, and he relishes it. He relishes his role as being the guy who is the gotcha guy.
Does he relish it, or is it just doesn't care?
Oh yes. He doesn't care. That's how he makes his money.
He doesn't care how he makes his money, just that he makes his money. I mean,
exactly.
I think he has a certain line that I think he doesn't cross. So that is the one thing that I just feel like is inconsistent with the Jigsaw thing.
I think he's a pawn. Zed has to be used because he's the connection between them.
It would be better if Zed made fun of him too in the hospital or said something that wasn't nice.
Right.
And then I can understand that.
Jigsaw has no conscience. He'll kill children. Exactly. He'll kill women. He'll kill completely innocent people. It just everyone is on the table. Everyone is on the table. That's
the one thing I don't like then about his character. That's the only thing I don't like about his character. I like his character. You're not
supposed to like Jigsaw.
No, but I am supposed to like a character that's devious. Like Kevin Spacey in Seven. We love him for the character that he portrays.
He's a complete.
Do you love Darth Vader? Yes, you do.
Before we found out Darth Vader was a 9-year-old boy, I liked Darth Vader.
Exactly. Why do you love Darth Vader? Because he's the
he chokes people.
Because he's the essence of evil. For those, that first movie, he's the essence of evil.
Exactly. But I don't. Okay, I will.
But so
do a little bit different. I don't. As far as Kevin Spacey's character, I like him because he has an amazing twist. I think I love him in the construct of that movie. I love Jigsaw because in the construct of this movie, he pulls off one of the most amazing endings in horror movie history. Anybody who sees this movie for the first time and tells you that they knew that the body in the middle of the floor was Jigsaw is a complete and utter fucking liar.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
No way. I will not believe another word they say.
I agree with you on this, but you're not touching what I'm talking about here. The only problem I have here with the Zed thing is up to this point, he's just consistent. And I like the consistency. I love, like, for instance, like Kevin Spacey's character in Seven, there was a reason behind the madness. I like a reason behind the madness. I like characters that have a reason behind the madness. When it's just madness, then the character becomes uninteresting to me. He doesn't do that here, but if he played more around with just randomness, then that character just becomes just a maniac. And I don't care about maniacs. I care about smart, evil villains in a movie, smart, evil people in the movie. That's what I want.
Maniac is a great 1980s horror movie as well. He's
That's
not
all
a
I'm saying.
maniac. He's very calculating, and I think Zepp is a pawn. Jigsaw views human beings differently because we know he's John Kramer, and we know that he's dying, and he uses Zepp as a pawn. That's why Zepp's death is so tragic. And that's why he is the only victim in this whole movie.
The only victim that died, I would say the other victim that was the daughter. The daughter she's going to be scarred for life.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, clearly.
Definitely.
And she has nothing.
Anyone who has survived anything from Jigsaw is scarred for life. That's a given.
Yeah, I mean, you go through the sequels. If you survive, you're never going to be the same. I think it's revenge. He wants revenge on Dr. Gordon in the worst possible way. He's going to achieve it by any means necessary.
So let's go into our reviews. Let's start off with Ken.
Well, this movie kind of surprised me. I mean, I'm not a fan of this type of horror genre. I'm a little more old school Vincent Price monster movies of the past. You know, the horror movies of today really don't. I'm just not that interested.
The 80s changed everything.
Yeah, the slasher films is what really kind of maybe sour on the horror genre. I'm not a Jason, Michael Myers type of guy. Those movies don't do anything for me. The cut 'em up and slash 'em up type of movies just kind of ruin horror for me for a little while. This is pleasantly a surprising movie. In fact, I would actually classify it more as a thriller than I would classify it as a horror movie. It kind of falls, like I said, into that Seven genre, kind of the same type of film. You have a lot more going on it than just blood and guts. Is there blood and guts around? Sure. But most of it is trying to figure out who Jigsaw is and having characters that are, you know, like Danny Glover's character who is obsessed about finding out who the killer is, and then having the doctor go from one aspect to the other aspect and Adam the same way. These character studies that the movie is doing, it's much smarter than just a horror movie. And so that's why I really pleasantly enjoyed this. Still not my big cup of tea, but but I also went through this with Seven for the most part, as far as a lot of this stuff. The ending at it, though, it's kind of like the Sixth Sense. The movie's good, movie's okay, and then it drops you this bombshell at the end, and you're like, okay, applause, thank you very much. And because of that, I'm going to give this movie a 3.25 hook. It's enjoyable. I might go back to it. I don't think I'll hit the sequels because everybody tells me how shitty they are. But I'm happy that we actually decided to do this movie.
I could tell you which sequels are good and worth your time. There are a couple that are worth your time. The one that Carrie Elways comes back for is worth your time. I can't remember.
He didn't bleed out, Eric.
Right. I can't remember exactly which one it is, but I could go through and tell you which ones that are actually worth time.
Does he have his foot cut off in the sequel?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course, yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I also know what happened to Adam. But I will. Yeah.
You also find out. Yes, 3 is actually better. Just like Dream Warriors and the Nightmare on Elm Street is better than the second.
Well, that's because Dokken did the theme song.
Of course. Of course. And you mentioned The Sixth Sense, Ken. M. Night Shyamalan is still living off of The Sixth Sense. And he has suckers like me who still, disappointingly, and we know we're going to be disappointed because he cannot create another movie, The Village should be unforgivable, but I still watch M. Night Shyamalan movies.
That'd be a great name for a movie, Unforgivable.
Yeah.
Some people will be unforgivable about this podcast, but I agree. I understand what you're saying, but also The Sixth Sense is kind of where we get all these movies that we have after, was it 97, 98, somewhere around there. After 98, everybody's going after the twist ending. Everybody has to have that, oh, wow, that happened moment. And you got to thank The Sixth Sense for doing that, because The Sixth Sense just
However,
did it so well.
Mr. Shyamalan cannot recreate it.
No.
And he's tried over and over and over.
And he shouldn't try. He should just make a straight movie, keep on making straight movies, and then maybe surprise us once in a while. But
I'll give him this. Signs was good.
Signs was all right. All right, well, what about you, Eric? What did you think about this movie?
Well, my review isn't really going to be important, and I wouldn't listen to it because I don't like this genre of movie. Don't use my review as any guide. Use these two guys' reviews as a guide.
Say losers.
Yeah, losers. I was going to say
two losers.
Okay, I like the ending of the movie. I thought the ending, the twist is really, really good. But the rest of the movie, just not my thing. I'll be honest with you. I'm never going to watch the other ones. Really could care less. But I did like the ending. I like the twist on it. For me, it's an average movie because of the twist. It's 2.5 hooks. But again, don't listen to me. This is not my genre of movie. So move on.
That's what I would have given it if it wasn't for the twist ending.
Ted, give us your 5 hooks and let's move on.
I love this movie. This movie restored my hope in horror movies. And like Ken said, it's more thriller than horror. I'll completely give him that.
I would agree with that as well. Yes.
I loved 7. I am unapologetic in that.
I love 7 too.
7 is amazing.
It's a great movie.
I like 10. We're totally more.
Yeah, you're right. This is one of those weird things where this movie for me stands alone, and I can separate it from the god-awful sequels. The sequels for me doesn't hurt the original. It's different because Friday the 13th, the sequels ruin the original to a certain extent. This does not for me. To me, there never needed to be a sequel. Everything could have been just left the way it was. I stood up and cheered. The fact that they had the courage to break all of the rules completely changed everything. I disagree with some of the critics. This is not the beginning of torture porn. The torture porn series really, for me, begins with Hostel. That's where torture porn takes over. It's just a great psychological thing. And for me, who likes to put, his name's Jigsaw, but for me, guy who likes to mentally put puzzles together, I love putting this puzzle together. There are times where I find things that I didn't see before. For me, this is easily 5. This is one of my favorite horror movies. I don't watch it like every other month or anything like that. I'm not completely crazy. But I'll watch it at least once or twice a year. To me, it's a great time. I never cease to enjoy it. It's a fun movie. It engrosses me every time. And that's what I look for in a movie. A movie that I can get essentially lost in for a period of time, and everything else is gone. And that's what I love. Of the 2000s horror movies and the 2010s, to me, this is one of the best.
Okay. Well, there you go. Across the spectrum for all of us. So, Ken, what is the next movie we're going to be doing?
We're going to be doing Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I believe it's the 1978 version.
1978 remake with Donald Sutherland, Leonard Nimoy, Jeff Goldblum.
Live long and prosper.
That's right. So that one we are going to be looking at.
I think that's the point of the movie.
Do we see Spock live long and prosper?
We do.
I've actually not seen the remake.
You haven't
this'll
seen
be
this version?
I've not seen this version.
Wow. All right.
So, and I am a Donald Sutherland fan, so I am excited to watch it as we enter Spooktacular October.
This one I actually have on 4K. Not tipping my hat at all. So
sneaky.
Well, I
on
own
your
it
4K.
too. That doesn't mean that I'm good. It's gonna be a great. I'm a big fan of the original one. That's what I'll say right now.
I've watched the original with my wife on Svengoolie. So, yes.
Well, that just makes it better because he has Svengoolie sarcastic comments.
Of
Yes.
course. I love the classic Svengoolie type of host that comes on and gives you the horror movie that Rob Zombie plays in a couple of his movies. He plays homage to. I miss those. I wish that was more of a thing.
I miss MSK 3000.
Yes. Yep.
I like
too.
Gwen Gooley.
Gwen Gooley,
I love Gwen Gooley.
Everybody loves Gwen Gooley. There's two big reasons why you love Gwen Gooley. And it's Elvira-esque.
Yes, very much.
A guy who does it on Shudder. I can't think of it now.
It's okay.
But we still have Svengoolie, so
we still have Svengoolie.
Radio Rich Coase. So
yeah, Rich Coase. He's done very well. I hope it doesn't go away with him.
It's gonna be Gwen Gooley.
That they continue.
Well, that's all the time we have on this edition of Hooked on Movies, and as always, I see dead people.
It's time to play a game.
I think it's time to end the game. Let's see you next time on Hooked on Movies.